You're listening to That Home Loan Hub. I'm Zibuni Salimova, here to make home loans and property investing simple, smart, and stress-free. Let's get you closer to your property dreams. Well, hello everyone. Today I have Sandy Dodson with me today. She is an amazing head of business development for Wolfbrook Property Management. Hello, Sandy, and you're joining me from Auckland.
I am. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting.
It is exciting. I was very excited when you said yes to me because it's not often you get the actual head of the whole department for the entire New Zealand to come and join and share your knowledge.
Well, I'm just delighted to be here and it's a pleasure to be working with you.
Thank you, Sandy. So tell me, what does your job title mean and what do you do in your normal life?
So I don't have a normal life. Let's get that out of the open straight away. What's normal? Actually, normal's boring. So no one wants a normal life, right? So head of business development, what does that mean? I am in charge of growth at Wolfbrook for Property Management. I have a team of BDMs around the country based in Auckland, Hawke's Bay, Wellington, Christchurch and Dunedin.
Wow.
And so the national role means I'm around the country, which I love. So I'm actually across all the markets across New Zealand. Outside of those areas, we also cover the Waikato, all of Bay of Plenty. We're also in Nelson and we're also in Central Otago. We just don't have BDMs physically located in an office in those locations. So what do? I run a team of BDMs, high performance BDMs, and our job is to go out there and work with investors and talk to them about what's important with their investments and to ensure that they're getting the best possible property management.
That's a hot topic, right? There's been a lot of changes, legislations, government talks, etc. We're in a really strange election year. Depends which
Yes.
party gets in. There's a lot of talks in that department as well. Now, tell me about what you're seeing right now from your point of view.
Yeah, so it is an interesting time, right? And we chatted about this on our team call just this week about talking to people and they say, oh, I might just wait until after the election. And, I'm like, what? Why? It's like, what are you waiting for? It's like nothing happens overnight or anything like that. And I think that's a really good conversation to have, right? Because when is the best time to buy an investment property? It's always now. I think everyone will agree. If you thought about this 6 months ago, you should have bought it 6 months ago, right? So what we are seeing in the industry is there are still people out there buying investment properties. It is a buyer's market in real estate right now. Yep. So there are a lot of people out there. Yes, the market is definitely geared to first-time buyers, but this is a market where a lot of investors are buying additional properties to add to their portfolio. And, and when is the best time to buy? You must know this with, what you do with guiding people financially. It is always going to be now. So we are seeing a lot of people still buying and a lot of people coming on as seasoned investors and also first-time investors. What we're seeing those accidental landlords coming on with people who are trying to sell their owner-occupied home because they're moving. They're either moving to another location within New Zealand, possibly moving overseas, and they can't sell their owner-occupied home. So they have decided to hold it for the next, year to 2 years and see what the market's going to do. So that's really a overview of what we're seeing in the market right now.
That was a really good summary, Sandy. I feel like I need to have you here every week. That was awesome.
Thank you. Can you tell I get paid to talk for a living?
I love it. I love it. But that's true, right? Like a lot of my buyers at the moment, if they can't sell their own home, I say to them, and if they can afford to buy the next one, I usually say, just hold on to the one you have, rent it out, just ride out this wave because you don't want to sell it when the market is low. Ride it out and then sell when the prices go back up again in a couple of years' time. And I guess they're the ones that are accidental landlords. But at the same time, I do have few landlords that are scared. They're scared that the capital gains tax will come into play, that the interest deductibility will be reversed if the other government gets in and things like that. So I feel like there's always two sides to the camp, where one camp is really scared and tries to get rid of stock, and then the other camp going, oh my God, what a great opportunity, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. And, when say you've got elderly people that have had a portfolio for a very long time, they're the ones that generally sell around this time because they've just had enough, right? They're ready to sell. But I just think, nothing happens overnight with an election. So, if something does happen and there are big announcements, it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have plenty of time to make changes. So it's just like that should not be a governing reason for you to not move forward if everything else aligns. I wouldn't be worried about that per se. And I've been through quite a few elections in this industry, and honestly, it's not a game changer.
Yeah, now that's really reassuring to hear. In Wellington at the moment, there's a lot of hot topic around the water rates.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
address the elephant in the room here, because I am in Kapiti. I mean, we've always had the water rate in Kapiti, but Wellington region seems to just get it, and there's a lot of people in panic. What advice do you have for the landlords at the moment that are receiving those bills?
Yeah, so can you just tell me what's actually happening with the water rates in Wellington? Because I'm like you, I'm in Auckland, and we've always had water rates, right? So I
Yeah.
can talk to what happens in this location, but I have heard a little bit about what's happening with water rates, that
Yeah.
they are going to be charged, right?
Yeah, so apparently a lot of people just received randomly rates to say, here's your new water bill, and there are no water meters in Wellington. And they're just based
Ah,
on your property value. It doesn't even know whether, you've got 5 people living there or one person living there. But if you're right next to each other, like I was thinking of my household, right? I've got 7 people living here versus my neighbor Dave, he's only got one person, just him. And imagine if both of us get the same water bill. Like, that doesn't make sense at all.
it
And
doesn't make sense at all. No, it doesn't make sense at all. So what's the plan with Wellington? Is everyone going to get a water meter?
well, apparently, eventually they will get everyone to do a water meter.
So at
But
the moment, you just get X amount of dollars. Everyone's being paid to charge water.
yeah, how
Wow, that's
great.
wild.
Even people that have bare land. I was talking to another person today, and they've got just land in Wellington. They haven't even built a house yet, and they've got a bill for the water rates.
Yeah. So we've paid water for a very long time, in Auckland. And so how it works with an investment property is that the landlord is responsible for the fixed charges,
Yeah,
and the tenants get paid for the usage. And that's a really fair way of doing it.
yeah.
So I can't imagine how they're going to roll this out in Wellington, but they're going to have to obviously get these water meters in and start doing it properly.
Yeah, otherwise there's
Yeah,
going to be a lot of uncertainty on both parties. Now,
absolutely.
tell me a little bit about the healthy home regulations and stuff. What have you seen with your landlords, and how are they coping with that? That's been going on for a while now with the healthy
It
homes.
it really has, right? And can I tell you, I think 2016 was when it was compulsory for insulation. Everyone had to have their insulation and smoke alarms, right? And then from July of last year, healthy homes had to be fully compliant. And it is very fair to expect a tenant to live in a healthy home.
Yeah.
And I think the requirements are fair. I don't think they ridiculous. Where I have only seen it fall over is in brand new builds where they may have open plan living, but they've got double glazing and it's well insulated and things like that. So there has been a few areas where it hasn't quite worked out. But I believe, generally speaking, landlords that have property managers are all very open to having their healthy home surveyed. They want to provide a healthy home for their tenants, and they want their tenants to love living in that home so that they stay. That's a happy tenant makes a happy landlord, and so it's
Mm.
win-win all around. I think where I see it, where it's not good, is dare I say it, self-managing landlords. If you're a self-managing landlord and you think you can get away with it, it's when the likes of they something happens and we take over. We can't take over properties that aren't healthy home compliant. We have to get them healthy home compliant. And so I think it's fair legislation, and I think it's been good for New Zealand. You've got to look at some of the stock around New Zealand, and I talk about Auckland, I can talk about Wellington, all over, right, Dunedin. Some of that stock, it really needed a little bit of an upgrade to be a little bit warmer and a little bit more comfortable for people to live in. So the best thing I've ever heard from one of my favourite investors is he said, I would never allow any of my tenants to live in a home that I wasn't prepared to live in with my wife and children. And I loved that. That should be a great philosophy as an investor landlord. We should all feel that way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that, because at the end of the day, it's if you become a property investor, I believe it's just like any other business, right? You got to take care, you got to take responsibility for your actions. Like if you were a food manufacturer, you're not gonna, I don't know, create a hummus that you're not gonna eat yourself. Like
that's exactly right.
You've got to create a hummus that you're going to eat and everyone else will eat. I guess same for the property industry. It is a business. We're running a business.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's making sure it's compliant and making sure that people are safe and healthy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think you were being a bit too generous by saying some of those houses needed a little bit of work. I think they needed way more than a little bit of work.
Oh, look, I'll never forget. There was one, we took over a property in New Plymouth, actually, and the roof was leaking. There were boards missing off the side of the house. There was cardboard on windows. There was a swimming pool under the house from water that was coming from somewhere. And it was under management. And it was like, this is not healthy home compliant. How can you, black mold coming up the walls? And it's like, how can you have people living, why would you put people living in there? It's just, it's not good, right? It's like, how can people sleep at night when they provide accommodation like that for someone paying? It's just not right. So there needed to be a standard, and I'm pleased with it.
Yeah. And I hear you were in Dunedin just a few days ago.
Oh, yesterday I went in and out in a day. It was absolutely glorious. Thank goodness I wasn't there 2 days ago, because that's when everyone was skiing or snowboarding down the streets. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it looked like Dunedin turned into a bit of a Narnia.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I mean, historically, Dunedin was also one of those towns that was often highly spoken that needs work done, because a lot of those houses are being rented out by students.
Yes.
And very, very poor conditions.
Absolutely right. And so they needed to really up the ante on those. We've just taken over a 27 bedroom boarding house, and the whole property is healthy home compliant. What a breath of fresh air. It was like the first question is this healthy home compliant? Yes. So I think, Dunedin really needed an upgrade. Those poor students down there, that not only are they living on noodles, but they're absolutely frozen when they're trying to sleep at night. So it's really good to know that accommodation has been improved so that they are able to live in a comfortable home. They're either stinking hot in summer or freezing cold in winter, right? So, and it's old stock, and old stock is generally what's being rented. It's being held. So it is great. It is great all round. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Sandy, tell me what gives you passion for this role. You deal with people, and you deal, let's face it, I'm going to say it. I've been very controversial lately on my podcast. Property management is not sexy, right?
Oh, it's hard. Who wants to do it? I don't understand anyone who wants to do it.
It's hard work. You're dealing with people. You're dealing with various kinds of people. People have issues in terms of the house. Something can happen to the house, and you get calls in the middle of the night and stuff like that. What brought you to this industry, and what is making you stay?
Well, it was actually champagne that got me here. And it's a funny story, actually. So we had a party in the backyard and I'd been self-employed for 11 years. And my daughter was like, we'd been through COVID and my daughter was like, Mum, you're just wasted at home. You need to get back out there in the workforce. And once you've been self-employed, you're like, I don't know if I'm employable. Anyway, long story short, couple of glasses of champagne. And I was telling this story. I went for an interview. I won't name the company, and the person who I saw was the worst interview of my life. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going back to work if I have to work for people like you. It was just appalling. And we're standing there drinking away, celebrating love in our backyard. We'd renewed our wedding, my husband and I, and with all of our friends and family around. And one of my friends turned around and said, Sandy, if you're going back to work, you're going to go and work for my son. Anyway, long story short, I went for an interview and I joined this industry and I just fell in love with it. And it's interesting because I knew nothing about property management, but I fell in love with it very quickly because it's all about people. And it's funny to say that because you think it's about property, but it's actually all about people. It's about the people that work within your business, the property managers, the admin staff. It's about the investors. It's about the tenants. It's people with property attached to it. And so it's a relationship industry, and I just love people. I also love property. So win-win, right? Why do I stay? Because I am passionate about making sure that this industry elevates its standards to be better than it's ever been before. So as you know, property management isn't a regulated industry, so you actually don't have to be qualified to come in and be a property manager. So there is a lot of shonky donkeys out there managing property and managing it badly and not compliant, no healthy homes compliant, no audited trust account. And so what I'm passionate about is making sure people understand the difference between brilliant property management and the shonky donkeys. And so that's what keeps me here. I want to elevate this industry again and again and again. So when I got the opportunity and I was, shoulder tapped and asked to come and join Wolfbrook Property Management, what excited me the most about joining here was the ability to affect change and really level up and really increase the level of service, performance, and the standards that we don't just hold ourselves to, but that we will hold our investors to, so that our investment stock is a great quality and that our tenants love living in our homes and our investors are getting the best return on their investment, because that's our job, right?
I love it. I'm going to send this to your manager, this recording, so that can form part of your KPI review, because you just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Oh, thanks, love. That's great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that was my one of the questions I had for you is, how do you feel about this industry, given it's not really regulated? To become a mortgage advisor, we have to study, and then we have
Yes.
that we can do this, and the other, versus anyone can wake up and go, I'm going to be a property manager, and go and manage properties without any experience whatsoever. And there are a lot of shonky property managers, and I was a victim of one, where I trusted the person to be doing the job they were doing, and unfortunately they weren't. And that really affected me over the last few years, where I had to, kick out the tenants that weren't the right fit. I had to renovate the properties and things like that, and then wait a period of time to get new tenants in. So it cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, because we had a very shonky, shady property manager. So I absolutely feel that pain, and I stand by you as well to say that this industry needs more regulation. We do need more quality property investors. We do need to, to make sure that what we put out there is looked after properly.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm most proud of here at Wolfbrook Property Management is we actually put our staff, our property managers, go through level 4 property management qualification. And that's done through Skills Ignite. And it's a powerful qualification, because they then get a certification at the end of it to say that they've passed their level 4 for property management. And that will ensure the investor knows that our team are educated. They actually understand RTA legislation, because our job is to to protect the investors, to make sure that their home is compliant, not just for healthy homes, but compliant in every way, that we are looking after the tenants the correct way. And so I think that's a really important part of what we do within this industry is education.
Do you think there should be a register for bad tenants or bad landlords?
Absolutely.
Why?
Yes,
Why don't we have
absolutely.
one? Why don't we have one?
Oh, I don't know. They just get away with it time and time again, don't they? So they really prey on vulnerable people, I think. Like slumlords, they prey on vulnerable people, and vice versa. Repeat offender, bad tenants. Why can they have their names suppressed and hide away? So that's why, again, it's so important that you work with someone that can do the checks, that know how to drill down and find out if it's suppressed and things like that. They can really get to the bottom of whether this will be a good enough tenant to put forward.
Yeah. Now,
there are ways.
There are ways to find out. I love it. I love it. But there should be, like, honestly, looking at the 2 tenants that I had to serve notice to leave, like, I couldn't believe the way they destroyed the houses I had and the conditions they were living in. For me personally, it was mainly, I was very sad for them and their children, the conditions that the children were living in. I mean, both of those
Yes.
properties were freshly renovated. They had new carpets, new paint, new kitchen, new bathrooms. And when we went through the check after they left, someone that was with me, they asked me, oh, when was the last time you renovated this house? Or has this house ever been renovated? They didn't realize the house was only renovated 2 years ago. It was.
Yeah, and that's not good enough, right? And that comes down to the quality of the inspection. And
Yes.
I think we need to, again, this is an area that I'm quite passionate about. And funnily enough, Samantha Arnold, the general manager, and I flew to Dunedin yesterday and we talked about this. And it's like the quality of inspections needs to be raised. The bar needs to be raised. Like you need to be able to see. And I think everyone gets sent this tiny little snapshot of a photo that you can't see. And it's our job to, when we go through to do an inspection, to hold these tenants to the standard that is expected to maintain the home. A renovation should not last 3 years. That's not okay. That tells you that the tenants aren't being breached, they aren't being educated. It's the same thing. You have to educate people. Some people haven't been taught how to clean a house, how to clean a bathroom. And, that is our job in this industry. It sounds ridiculous, but you actually, I know people that take cleaning product around and show people this is how you clean a house. And education, once you show them, it's really exciting once they embrace it. And most people don't want to live like that. But if you show them how, they then embrace it and live well, right? So I think education is so important in all aspects of this industry. But yeah.
I'm thinking if Zibunisa had another clone, she would probably start up courses, how to clean houses and
how to clean houses. Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I remember I had one tenant and I opened the oven and I was blown away. Like, the oven was just in such a state. And I was like, have you ever cleaned this? And they're like, we have to clean that.
Exactly right. So many people haven't been taught. It's a dying art, cleaning.
Yeah. I did self-manage as well, some of the properties, and that's why I take my hat off to the property managers, because I feel like it's a very looked down job. And, some cases people underestimate how much property managers actually do. Like,
oh, it's ridiculous how much they do. I have the glory job and I own that. Like I am the champagne and over here living my best life in the glory space of a BDM life. And the property managers are the absolute rock stars. They are the foundation of every property management business. They are the grinders. They're doing the hard yards. I take my hat off to them. What they see and do is so wild. And I think it is, you have to be passionate about property and this industry to be able to stay in it. And it's a tough gig, right? Burnout is very real for property managers. So it's so important that you're with a company that is going to look after you and support you in this role. And I think that's key as well, right?
Well, that was going to be my question. Do you look after your people and how do you look after them?
Yeah, so it's all about how you structure the business. And I think what's exciting is that there's so many ways that you can do it. And I think what works for one office may not work for another. So it depends on the location and how you want to do it. But the most important thing, and I think everyone that's in property management would agree, is the volume of properties that you're managing, what admin support you're getting, what technology your company is using to support you. It's not one thing. So, I've seen property managers that manage 200 properties and they do it with such ease and grace and no stress whatsoever. And I've seen others that are managing 80 and they're just an absolute stress ball, going around the office like a headless chicken. So it all depends on how you are as a person. The property managers need to be so organised and so structured and juggling a million things at once. Those are the type of people that do well in this industry, but the structure and how much support you have is also important.
Do you see more women or men property managers?
There's always a mixture. Now ask me who's better at it.
I'm like, I think I know what you're going to say. Who is better at it?
Woman, all day long. And I love it. All the men are going to come for us in this. And it's so funny. Why do I say that most, not all, there are some phenomenal men property managers, but why do women excel? Because they are so used to multitasking. They do 20 things at once and just get stuff done, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's just a joke. I'm joking, guys.
I love it. I love it.
It's woman all day long.
But you're right. Like, I think also, you need a lot of empathy as well when you're dealing with people. And I think that's where our superpower comes in as well. And it's not that men are not empathetic, they just build different. And we just have to recognize that look, at the end of the day, men and women are built different. And we should play to our skills.
It's the 80-20 rule, right? And so 20% of men in the property management side, 80% women, 20% men, and they are phenomenal. But I think if you look at that 80-20, that's why there's 80% women, because they are better suited to it, and only 20% of the men are going to excel in this field. So yeah, have I redeemed myself, and the men haters aren't going to come for us?
Yeah, I think you redeemed yourself. But at the same time, like, I think a lot of men are really good at those harder skills. If we're good at soft skills, they're usually good at those harder skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know one of the things you said you were going to talk to me about, and again, I'm quite passionate about this, is about what investors need to do with their properties, right, to ensure that they're keeping up with the market. Can we have a little, is that on your list, or we bypass that?
No, that's on my list. Go.
Cool. So one of the things that is really important, and this is a market, right? It's a winter. We're in a really tough market. And one of the things I coach on when we're going live with the property marketing is something I'm really passionate about. And it's so important if you're going to market your property as an investor. There's two things you need to get right, and that's presentation and price. So, and I talk about this all the time when I'm actually talking to an investor, and I say to them, so if you had to score your house, 1 being it needs a full renovation, and 10, it's like, and we're talking about an older house, right? 1 being that you need a full renovation, and 10, it's as brand new, or it is a brand new house. Where do you think it sits presentation-wise? Are we a 5, a 6, 7, 8? And they have to score themselves. And if they actually say, and then the other question I ask is like, when did you last do a renovation? And they go, and it's like, I go, how old is the house? I was bought in the 1960s. I said, has it had any upgrade? And they go, we might have painted the lounge. It needs a renovation, right? And so I think what's really important for investors, and when you're talking to them and they're talking about becoming an investor, right, in your space. And it's like they have to understand they need to put money away every year, just like we do as homeowners. And you're going to have to upgrade the curtains or do new carpet after 12 years or whatever, or after the kids have a 21st, like I had to one year after my daughter's 21st party, we had to redo the carpet. But it's like you have to put money aside all the time to keep upgrading, right? And that doesn't change with an investment property. So I think presentation-wise, if you're going to market, you always need to look at what you could do cosmetically to get your house as close to a 10 out of 10 to achieve the best price, to ensure that you're always getting your return on investment. But if you're only a 5 out of 10, are you going to drop your price to show that you're a 5 out of 10? You can't get 10 out of 10 price. And so I think that's really important, and why I'm really passionate and coach and vocal about presentation and price is because if you get those two things right, you'll get it rented quickly and well, and you don't have downtime with no money coming in. And that's the pain point for investors. Whenever it's vacant and there's no money coming in, you are paying 100% every week on week on week with no money coming in.
I love that, because I think a lot of people think that they can just slap on some paint and then get the premium for it.
Yeah.
But no,
and
there
you
are other
can't.
yeah.
It's really competitive, right? And I watch the market, and it's the same across the country. Someone said to me the other day, gosh, Wellington's a tough market to rent in. And I went, no, it's not. And they go, what do you mean? How can you say that? And I'm so adamant. And I'm like, no, it's not. If you've got the presentation and price right, it's absolutely, and it's the same market as anywhere else. Why it becomes a tough market is when owners are expecting it to be here and the quality of the house is here. You can't, the market's there. Presentation and price is always going to be there. If it's there, you won't rent it.
Yeah. You gotta meet the market. And I mean, look, I know a lot of landlords have actually reduced some of the rent. I know some of them had to take that hit just for a short period of time. But they know that property investment is a long game.
It is.
I always remind this to the clients, because some of them just want to get rich fast, and they think they can just buy a property and then, this rent will come in and they don't have to worry about it ever again. If you want a hands-off approach, then, go buy shares or something. This is not financial advice, by the way. But you know what I mean? Like if you don't want to really look after property, for me, property, it's something I see, something I can touch, and I believe in it a little bit more than shares and investments, because I feel if the property market crashes, at least I still have a house. I've got a piece of land. I can always bulldoze the house. I can always build something on it. Like for me, nobody makes more land.
No. And you know what I love about it too is, like, as an investor, you're providing a home for someone.
And that was my next point as well.
It is so beautiful to be able to provide a home for people that need one, that want one.
Yeah. One of my properties in Palmy, this tenant of mine, she's been there now 11 years.
Wow.
And she moved in as a single mom, and she had another baby there while she was there as well. And she's still a single mom and stuff like that. And it's just beautiful, to watch her be there for the last 11 years and be an awesome tenant, and seeing her calling that home her home.
That's right.
And I think sometimes investors forget that it's maybe your investment, but it's actually someone's home.
Someone's home, right? And nothing better that when a tenant loves it like their own home.
Yeah. And you can see, they look after it, they clean it, they look after the gardens and the trees, and, and eventually she wants to buy it off me, and I'm more than happy for her to buy it off me. And I'm just waiting for her to be in that position. But it's so, so cool to see her raising her children there and seeing, the photos popping up and things like that, where she's house proud. She,
that's so nice, right? That's a good story.
That is a good. Well, I've got a mixture. I've got some good stories and bad.
You do. You have the good and the bad, right? I think that's the industry, though.
It is. So I don't know if you can share any stories from your end at all without breaching any privacy acts. But do you have any nice stories or horrible stories for our listeners today?
Oh gosh, I've got some funny ones. I don't know if I can repeat those. We might have to make it an R conversation. I have got lots of great stories, and I've got lots of horror stories as well. And I think, like like you and I know each other, right? We've worked together, and like you talked about the fact that you had a property manager, so but you just weren't getting the service. So in one of the situations, I was working with an overseas investor, and he had 3 properties under management with another company. Now we took them over, and he was like, I can't get any information from the company. You imagine being overseas and you can't even get in your car and drive there and see your investment property. And like, we took over these 3 properties, and they were all interesting. I won't say bad, they were all interesting, but one of them had a tenant that just refused access to the property. So he had the property completely fenced off. He had a dog on the property that was an attack dog, and that was like unsafe. There's no way you could even enter the property. He had no way, no email, no phone. So we had no way of actually getting access to this property. And when we finally had to get, and it took a long time, but we finally got police escort, we finally got everyone else involved. When we finally got access to that property, there wasn't one non-broken window in the place. There wasn't one door that was in the place. The garage had been used as a place to grow illicit plants, and the floorboards were ripped up, which indicated things had been stored under the floorboards as well. And this owner for years had been with another company and had no idea that this was going on at his place. So the good part about that, it's good and bad. So we went through all this, but the funniest part was the neighbours were like, thank you for removing this absolute nightmare from our little cul-de-sac. And the owner was like, 100 and how many thousand to get my house repaired, to get it back rented. But anyway, we got it all done. We managed a renovation. We got a really great tenant in there, and it's happy days moving forward. And that's a classic example of good and bad management and holding your property managers to account. And that is a wild story, but it actually happened. And the safety of our staff is so important. And putting people having to go to that home, there's just no way we would allow them to go into that home.
Yeah.
That particular tenant came in raging once we finally got them removed and said, I'll pay. Too little, too late. Those bad apples, they just need to be out. He needs to be named. Everyone needs to know who he was, all of that stuff. So, yeah, but
I love that.
Lots of amazing stories. I've worked with owners and they just continued buy, and they're just so happy being in the space because they're so happy being looked after, and that just comes down to relationship.
Yeah. No, I love that. And this is where the register comes in, right? Like, this is where those sort of tenants should be named. I mean, I had a beautiful story with your property manager that took over for one of my properties, and the tenant initially I used to manage him myself for ages ago. We put him in there with his partner, but then that relationship broke down, and then he's been living by himself ever since. And then when the other property managers got involved, he sort of became a bit disconnected, and he wasn't really paying his rent on time. He wasn't really looking after the property, and the previous property managers really struggled to be in touch with him. But what your property manager did, and I thought that was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. She knew him from the local whānau connections, and they go to the same marae or something. So she literally pulled him up in marae, and she was like, if you don't clean up your act, I know where your mum lives, I know where your aunt is. And she put that fear of connection back into him. And, he pays his rent now. He's catching up on all the rent that he's missed. He's patching up the house and things like that because he doesn't want to leave the property. He loves that house. He's been there for the last, 10 years. So for him, that's home as well.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, I don't make me call the aunties in. Hey?
Yeah, literally. That's what she said to him to get him pull his act together. And I thought that was beautiful because as as much as we want to think of property managers as those people that come with their little notebooks and take notes and take pictures, they're actually human too, and they live in our
Yeah,
communities and they do care.
they
And
do. Yeah.
that was cool. I thought that was a really cool outcome for all parties involved. That, I suddenly got a tenant that's paying money again and actually loves being where he is. And then the tenant actually realized that he can pull his head. And, she went to wins with him as well
Yeah.
to sort out
Yeah.
his benefits and stuff. So
So
I thought that was
that's
really cool.
going the extra mile, right? Helping people. Like, that's our job and that's what we do. It's so important.
That
Yeah.
is. Now tell me about the Wolfbrook, because originally the Wolfbrook was a company that was building houses, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we still do. So Wolfbrook, you've got Steve Brooks and James Cooney and young entrepreneurial guys, developers. So they were absolutely pivotal in the rebuild of Christchurch, right? They own their own stock of investment properties, and they basically just weren't happy with the industry and weren't happy with the standard of service they were getting for managing their own stock of investments. And so, they're entrepreneurs, they're just like, oh, fuck it, let's just start our own let's just start our own. So, entrepreneurial guys, and they were just like, let's open our own property management company. And so they started with just managing their own. And then with developing, so they were developing houses, and because they had their own property management business, they were able to say, buy a development from us, a property from our development, and we will give you a rental guarantee and we will manage it for you. So they were absolutely able to guarantee that the fact that they could then get the rent. When you buy off the plans, they were able to guarantee you'd get X amount of dollars. And if the market drops, they will top it up. So it was a fabulous win-win for the development to the property management. So really superb synergy, right? Which is really exciting. And it's not just that, they own so many companies, but under the Wolfbrook umbrella, but it's a great synergy for the development side and property management. And so, Wolfbrook before December 24, they probably had about 650 to 700 properties on there under management, and they were very heavily Canterbury based. And now we sit just under 5,000 across New Zealand, from Auckland down to Dunedin. So, yeah, it's exciting to be part of such innovative entrepreneurial. So it's a wild ride, and you've just got to be, you're either on the bus or you're off the bus. And it's such an exciting place to be.
I love it. And I love that your champagne story led you to this moment where you can see the company just grow so much exponentially over the last, 18 months now. And I love those Kiwi stories, like just Kiwi people, just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I absolutely
Steve Brooks knows if he wants me to do something, he doesn't dangle a carrot, he dangles the magnum of champagne. That normally gets me. That normally gets me going.
I love that too. Hey, look, I would love to come to your head office one day, and you and I can,
Absolutely
have some nice bubbles together.
Sounds fantastic. Anytime you just let me know, we'll hook it up.
Sounds good. Sandy, thank you so much for coming in today. I would love to have you back at some point and we can look at some statistics and stuff, because I think it's really important to show people what's really going on out there and remove all that noise, because I feel like the more people listen to various people, they get confused and then they get analysis paralysis.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And numbers
Absolutely.
don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. Yeah.
So, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sandy. Really appreciate the talk with you today. And let's go and enjoy our bubbles. It's getting late in the day.
Good. My pleasure. See ya.
And that's a wrap on That Home Loan Hub. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join me next time for more property tips and tricks. Your next smart move starts here.